Hey everybody, it's Nick and Eric, and we have just completed the Lemons block party at CMP. This time we didn't actually have a block party. Normally we do a big thing in the Camden Town Square, we do BS inspections down there. This time we didn't do it because recently they found some Revolutionary War remains from the Battle of Camden. And the city council decided, maybe we don't want to have the ceremony for that and the Lemons thing happening at the same time. And at the end of the day, maybe we don't follow them.
I'm with it. Howdy.
Now, one of the highlights of this weekend is that we surpassed $250,000 of donations to Lemons of Love, and that is pretty amazing. Lemons of Love is a charity, of course, that gives out care packages to people going through chemotherapy. They also have a lot of ties to racing. They're a great organization, and we're really happy to have worked with them for several years, and we really appreciate also the dedication of our racers towards their cause.
And speaking of dedication to Lemons, at this race, there were 2 racers with Lemons tattoos. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where on your body would you get a Lemons tattoo?
I made some decisions last night. One of them was this.
The arm, yeah, that's a relief. And I was thinking that...
the arm. No problem. Nothing to worry about.
Let's get into some hella sweets. Optimus Primer, great team name by the way, have a Volvo 850. This thing looks great. It is slow as all get out, automatic, non-turbo, huffing and puffing all weekend. That's hella sweet.
Always hella sweet, the semi-sentient centenarians and their Miller High Life NASCAR-themed Buick. This thing is incredible. It never disappoints. We love seeing it on track.
That thing's got a Terraza swap. The Adrenaline Chunkies were there with their Ghostbusters-themed Subaru wagon. That was really well done, and the team is full of really nice people. They were definitely in the running for an award, but they kind of got outshined by another 1980s movie car. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Then we had Global Cooling, which were rookies in a Subaru, and they were a bunch of snowboard dudes.
Snowboard dudes in a Subaru?
Yeah, I know, that's really weird. Actually, the weird part was that they were in South Carolina. Yeah, they had an unremarkable race, had a few mechanical issues, but were overall hilarious.
Our friends at Mock Grass Racing have been racing with us for at least 10 years, and in that time, they've probably gone through more engines than any other team in the history of Lemons. Their terrible Kia this weekend did not blow up, and they had plenty to fix still in the paddock, but they were glad they didn't have to do a motor for once. That was hella sweet.
Hella sweet, Princess Buttercup Racing, a great Princess Bride theme, obviously. They had a dude with a glove with 6 fingers. He just needs to watch out for Inigo Montoya.
You know what would be a great car? A Toyota Starlet. And these guys have one. And it would be hella sweet, except they are always in the penalty box. That's but terrible.
We, of course, always love seeing the moldy Carlo G-body. This car goes all the way back to 2008. It's the only G-body that's ever done anything remotely resembling Lemon's success. In fact, they've won multiple races. Every other G-body's been horrible. This particular weekend, they were in the pits a lot, but while it was on track, it was fast as usual.
We also had the Guibo Grabbers, or Gaibo, or... It was a Mercedes, and they were a candidate for Heroic Fix since the car was on fire on Saturday. We asked them about it, and they said it was, just a little electrical fire. They had it all taken care of in 5 minutes, but dudes, you were on fire.
I'm fired! There is no fire!
And here we've got the Corvette from Ironclad Racing.
Corvette Magazine!
As you know, Corvettes are composite body, V8 powered, high performance sports cars, which is why this one was driven 2 lap times almost as quick as this old ass BMW 7 Series with a coffee table for a trunk lid.
Petty Cash and the Carbreakers, great team name by the way, were another candidate for Heroic Fix after plowing into the tire barrier when their brakes hella went out.
The Camaro of tormented racing, well, it did Camaro things. It was alive for a while, then it was dead. And now, motor, probably toast. Everything else, probably toast.
It was a pretty uneventful race for the Escape Velocity Racing Triumph, and the real triumph, an uneventful race for Triumph.
In the penalty box, we had judges Aaron, Shelley, Jason, and Sean. They did a great job. They handed out excellent penalties, including fingernail painting, painting decorative cups, and the good old tape the team's legs together and make them walk around the paddock for our own entertainment penalty.
Yeah, they also added a new penalty. Hey, Nick, when was the last time you had a 40?
I get knocked down, but I get up again. They're never gonna keep me down.
Now, in my formative years in college, there was a drinking game called Edward 40 Hands, wherein you duct taped 2 40-ounce beers to your hands and you had to drink them. Now, we can't do that during a race, so we did, since it was close to Easter, Edward Jelly Bean Hands, where you had to eat the jelly beans with your fingers saran wrapped together.
Real quick, class winners. Class C was the Mini Van Halen of It'll Be Fine. Look for a Lemon's World feature on the Mini Van Halen shortly. It's an Eagle Summit wagon. Hella sweet. Dominated Class C.
I shit you not, a Chevy Cobalt won Class B with some help from Team Unicorn Cream, who found them some brakes in Atlanta.
And the Class A and overall winner was Buzzed Viking Racing in their Lexus. They did donuts on the hot track after winning. Here's a pro tip: don't do that. Otherwise, you might be asked to not return to Lemons like these guys were.
At this race, there were a ton of SN95 Mustangs. How many? I don't know, a shitload, approximately. Now, the best of these was Palmetto Racing in their, I think, 35th anniversary bright blue Mustang. These guys are local to Camden, and they discovered Lemons from the sweet block party that we have in downtown Camden. Said, hey, we should come racing. A couple years later, they were the best of the SN95 Mustangs. Now, assuming there are no more Revolutionary War funerals next year, you can look for the block party to return in 2024.
I Got Screwed went to Team Sputnik and their Sentra. This thing was losing fluid all weekend. Transmission, diff, everything was threatening to just lock up. They had the strategy of putting their slowest, gentlest driver in the car to try to limp it to the end. That did not work. They crapped out. They got screwed.
Your eBay Motors heroic fix went to O-Town Racing and their Audi TT. This Audi showed up at Tech on Friday with the drive shaft completely hosed, and they decided that for the weekend they were just going to run this Audi as front-wheel drive. Totally not problematic at all, I'm sure. And naturally, because it is an Audi, the turbo gave out, and then the engine decided it was next and crapped out as well. They spent all of Saturday then swapping the engine and then ran much slower on Sunday. I don't know why slower, but probably just because they were tired of fixing things.
Judge's choice went to Mustang Express. This is a team full of high school kids. A little backstory, they have historic registration problems. We deal with hundreds of teams throughout a Lemons season, and this team is on the short list of not being able to sign up completely or on time. Now, the weird thing is, that kind of lack of preparation does not translate to the car at all, which shows up perfectly ready to go with zero problems and will run flawlessly for the whole weekend. Now, who am I kidding? The car was just as bad as their registration. It had overheating issues. It had electrical issues. They had to put in a new alternator. Then they had to put in a new transmission. Everyone in the paddock was trying to help them get back on track. They finally did. With about 10 minutes remaining in the entire race, they couldn't finish a single lap before everything exploded. And here they were, parked on the front straight, 30 feet from the finish line on the last lap. The wrecker came to pick them up, but then we decided, you know what, let's let all of the cars get off the track so that they're the final one, and then let the whole team go out and push the car over the finish line to take the checkered flag. This was actually an emotional moment for everybody who was watching them struggle with this car all weekend, and it was just a scene.
Organizer's choice was Faux Lorien and their Mitsubishi Starion. Now, this team needs just a tiny bit of backstory. They show up about every 3 or 4 years, and usually when that happens for a team, the team shows up with a car that's kind of half-assed and has been sitting behind the barn or whatever. These guys seem like they spend all of their time in between races building up towards an amazing presentation, and this weekend was no exception. They brought an immaculate Back to the Future DeLorean crafted out of the Starion. Everything was done to absolute perfection. They brought the original owner, Shelley, to the race in the same dress she was wearing when she bought the car new. It just runs. These guys are spectacular. We hope they don't spend another 3 years till we see them again.
Halloween meets gasoline. $1,000 to the best dressed, best themed team went to Retro Racing. Last year, in their 73 Beetle, they completely exploded it and oiled down the track in a full-on Exxon Valdez fashion. They dressed up as oil barons, they drank out of maybe cleaned out motor oil bottles, they had ducks with Dawn soap for the cleanup. It was a whole spectacular unified thing. $1,000, Halloween meets gasoline.
Your index of affluency went to Zip Tide Racing in their 1968 Dodge Dart YU Bruin Classic. Now, this was done up like a Superbird, and at first, as they showed up for tech, it was yellow and primer and basically a Joe Dirt mobile. In the paddock on Saturday, they resprayed it as Richard Petty's Superbird. You know, the Superbird. They finished mid-pack and kind of played the hillbilly roles perfectly with some natty light bribes and mullets and all that stuff, but most importantly, they drove the car to and from the track without a trailer. It's a great team, great attitudes, great performance, great piece of and here is Lemons in a nutshell.
So I was really excited to show this off at the block party, but we didn't actually have it, so I'm gonna show you my ass.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?